I'm back with another book, The Postcards I Never Sent by Lyn Paterson. If you do not know who this is, I recommend that you get to know who this is. You can follow her on Instagram. Her handle is @poetryandthings. This book is so vulnerable, so raw, so honest, so sensual, so personal. I literally feel like I am in her mind. And I titled the video, "The Vulnerable Writing Can Heal Us." There are so many personal things she writes in here. And as a writer, I think to myself, how many things do I keep to myself out of fear or shame? Because when I read these things, some of the stuff that the poems that she has written, they're so intimate, and I feel so honored to, it's almost like a friend telling you, girl, this is what I've been through. And I feel really honored to like not only be a part of that journey, but to just witness it so intimately. So I want to kind of get into some of the other themes in this book. Lyn Paterson talks a lot about sisterhood, identity, being a woman, polyamorous relationships, love, sex, lust, addiction, culture. She gets into all of it with such a level of rawness that is admirable. And I just want to like break that down. I want to just dig into it. So let's get into it. So this is like a poetry book / memoir. The premise of the book follows her experience of moving through an open relationship with her partner, who she dedicates the book to. It has different like sections and segments that she writes to him. Apparently he gave her like a travel journal to write in, and she talks about how during their separation period she started writing some of the musings and poetry and some of the dedications that she read in the book to her partner in it, and it kind of like outlines and fleshes this whole collection of poetry, hence becoming The Postcards I Never Sent, her detailing different poems, different notions to her partner that she ultimately doesn't send, but becomes part of a travel journal as they, like kind of hitting a theme of journeying and traveling together and also apart. And I kind of like, I don't know if like that's intentional, but sometimes when I feel like writers or creators, like some things just kind of like fall already into the theme, or sometimes you're already living inside the theme and you don't really realize it. I'm kind of like talking as like a creative writer, like, you know what I'm saying? Some of you know what I'm saying. But there touches on some themes around emotional growth and maturity. She like reflects a lot on her own emotional habits and patterns. And something that I've learned in my personal relationship, that relationships are like the biggest containers of learning ourselves. All the things that you sometimes, and this is not true for everyone, but like a principle that has helped me in my relationship and grow and mature deeper in love with my partner is all the things that you sometimes dislike about your partner are all the things that you also dislike about yourself. And holding space like that really teaches you how to become not only more patient and loving and nurturing to your partner, but nurturing and compassionate to myself. Because I truly feel like relationships are mirrors. Not to say that all of the ugly things perhaps that you don't like your partner are inside of you automatically, but sometimes it can mean that there's parts of you that also either entertains that or holds space for that or thinks or demonstrates your own beliefs of your own worth. Like it's just reflecting some parts of you. It may not be like exactly that. Like I'm just like trying to illustrate, like it doesn't have to be literal, but even in some unhealthy dynamics, it can just be a reflection of just parts of you that may not have healed or recognized how certain things are harmful. So kind of want to get into some of those themes and elements. One of the poems I really love is like Wild Woman Sisterhood. She kind of talks a lot about the sound of sisterhood. And there's like some parts in here where she says, being friends with wild women is therapy to a soul rebel. When we come together, we do not giggle. Instead, we cackle like it's a part of our senses. Deep from the soul, up through the belly, the way wolves howl up at the moon. And it kind of like reminisces on some of like themes in Woman Who Runs with Wolves by Clarissa Piccola Estes. So I talk about in another video, like that kind of like freedom, searching for freedom, and like a theme of sisterhood and how it sounds, like fervently chasing who you are. She talks about, if you're going to talk to me, I'm going to tell you the truth. And there's like a feeling and also like cultural notion of Black women also being truth tellers and chasing after our truths and being fervent like protectors of our truths. And when we do that, I think it also allows other people to also chase those truths. But yeah, there's like a bit of truth telling in there. There's a little bit of like, this is how we talk, and I love that. Out of that space of just like, welcome, sit down with me, talk to me, let's talk. I'm gonna show you every single part and corner of my journey, which is very vulnerable. And it just inspires me, truly. Like, it just inspires me. It's just kind of like, dang, there's such risk in opening up about all of those intimate parts of your life. She also gets into a lot of her emotions around being biracial and mixed. And she does it with such like fervency and beauty. It's like hard to talk about because I don't want to give away so much of the book. I want you to also order the book. This one poem is titled America is an Ashy Bee, and I'm finna read her for filth. And this one's actually kind of really funny. I think she just, there's nothing more that I value than someone's honesty. There's this one part in the book where she like does a beautiful blend of talking about, and she does some of those poems with like a feeling of sound and alliteration. It's almost like you can hear home. There's one poem called The Caribbean Symphony and another called Auntie Gina's House. And I'm just going to read a couple of verses. Tropical flora sway softly from wind, which picks up speed from storm breeze sent from the mountains. You could kind of hear it when I say it, like tropical flora sway softly from wind, which picks up speed from storm breeze sent from the mountains. And it's like already infusing nature into like a imagery that is so close to island life. The homage that she paints is just so beautiful. Waves ripple gentle reggae rhythms, no worries, no cares, feet knee deep in the ocean's chorus. Little crowds with square bodies threaten to tickle your feet. As jade seaweeds wrap toes, you release a sigh in harmony. I think there's something interesting here where she's like searching for home. There's like a theme of that, when a person can be a home, a place can be a home. And I think all of us are kind of like searching for different parts in our lives that feel like home. Or sometimes I feel like when you are evolving or going through massive change or major transformations, there is this yearning and desire to like find something familiar, or find something that feels familiar. And she does this so beautifully. Another part I really love is like, this chicken is made with soca and hot peppers. The callaloo mixed with crab and calypso. Girl. Under the abatala, a place of rice and peas. Or peas and rice, depending on the mouth eating. And I like that subtle nod because I think she's like trying to differentiate, like in Jamaica, rice and peas is actually like red beans that are boiled, and then the rice is moved in and then it kind of like dyes at this red color, but it's beans, not necessarily peas. And I remember trying to explain that to someone who wasn't Jamaican or had any like affiliation with that, and they were just like, ew, like green peas and white rice. And I was like, no. Anyway, I just thought that was funny, and like also like showing like what home feels like, what familiarness feels like, and to whom. As she continues to write the book, she kind of gives like these little like markers to her husband, describing her own emotional growth during their separation. And she talks a lot about like not enjoying certain behaviors being reflected back to her, like avoidance patterns, or just like the opposite of having like a fulfilling, committed relationship when you are single and there's like no commitment from other people. That kind of like void that like carries, that typically a steady partner would. She kind of like digs more into some of the more hurtful, painful parts of their relationship, I'm trying to find it right now. It's called Dirty Laundry. And when I read Dirty Laundry, oof. And that's kind of what I meant earlier by like feeling so honored that someone is sharing something so deep and intimate. Because it started to make me think like when I'm writing something very vulnerable, it's something I don't want to share with anyone. Most of the times because I would feel shame. It's like I don't want anyone to ridicule me for going through an experience like said thing. And she kind of talks about this like moment of betrayal between both of them. And I'm going to read this part where it says, I wore my bridal lingerie for him and you let her wear the sweater I bought you on our honeymoon. That line, I was like, ooh, I could feel like the rage, the vengeance, the dirtiness of it all. And it just makes me think as a writer, like sometimes in our drafting or thinking phase, we can think like, who on earth would benefit from this? Do I really want to release certain things out there into the world? But when I read this as a reader, I felt so like much empathy and compassion and sympathy, and I just felt in the experience with the person, not judging, not any of those things. And it's just an interesting conundrum noticing that, because I just start to get curious about how like vulnerable writing can be so healing, how sharing the things that we go through shouldn't be held in shame in any kind of way. And I feel like Lyn Paterson does a really good job of demonstrating what it means to be in like gray, messy middle areas in life. And I just really recommend this book. I think it's just a beautiful like homage to Black women and how our words can be super transformative. And as the book continues, you can kind of see like how the relationship transforms and evolves and grows. And she describes them going through therapy and like trying to rebuild what they go through. And I just kind of like the messiness of it all. And it's interesting, I know from myself as someone who's super critical or can be really critical on myself at times, it's just humbling and rewarding and like a nice reminder that being messy and being vulnerable, as much as our society tries to like aim for perfection, and I feel like so many people are trying to like not get caught looking like something when we don't really realize the beauty and the art within being in a messy space. And I just feel like that's what this book does so well and captures so beautifully. And it's just really inspiring. And I recommend this for anyone who just is looking for a different version of a memoir, because it's mostly poetry, but it's still fun, a narrative arc for sure. So I recommend that. I also went on a book haul because lately I've been in a real reading slump lately, and I'm someone who reads a lot of nonfiction. Sometimes I can just get like too real or too intense, and I'm a very intense person. I was kind of yearning for just something that feels easier, like a little more detached from reality, but I could still put on my thinking cap and still like try to guess and theorize about what's happening. And I literally walked in. This book was just sitting on the shelf. It's by Chester Himes, revered mystery storyteller, and I'm ashamed that I haven't heard of this author till now, but I'm gonna make up for lost time. Chester Himes is to writing what Miles Davis is to the trumpet, what John Coltrane is to the saxophone, and what lips are to love, Nikki Giovanni. Like, that sold me. So I'm really interested to read like 3 novels in here: the A Rage in Harlem, The Real Cool Killers, The Crazy Kill, and Cotton Comes to Harlem. And apparently he's really renowned. Winner of the Francis prestigious Grand Prix de Littérature Policière award, and lauded as a prodigious masterpiece. So I'm really excited. I can't wait to dig into this. And if anybody else has read Chester Himes, I'm curious to know what your favorite books are. And if you haven't heard of Lyn Paterson, now you do. And I can't wait to keep talking about more books with y'all. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.